God help me, I buried her in the earthen floor of the fruit cellar.
Hello, everybody. My name's John.
And Justin here.
And welcome to Gore Goblins, the show where we talk about our favorite movies and what else?
Horror movies we like, some we don't, and some we've never seen before.
Yeah, but we've definitely seen today's. Also, it's been 2 weeks.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry about that.
We had a perfect opportunity for a Halloween episode, but,
Yeah. But
life.
Unbelievable.
But then I left for San Antonio / Austin. And then Cale hadn't been resurrected by the voodoo doctor yet. By the way, Cale's here.
Hey!
Everybody. Cale, what was hell like?
I mean, it's Texas.
All right, cool. Anyway, what did we watch today, Justin?
We watched Evil Dead 2.
Oh, buddy.
The classic.
The classic of classics, Evil Dead 2.
You know, we just finished it like a few minutes ago, and I've already forgot most of it because that movie is so fucking scattered to me. Like
that movie's like jam-packed with shit.
everything just goes on at once.
It moves very fast, yeah.
It is less than 90 minutes.
It is, yeah, it's like, what, 83, 84,
Yeah,
somewhere
84.
around there? It's very short, and it moves very quick. And, you know, what else do you expect from Sam Raimi, if I'm being honest? I mean, that seems to be his style. And, you know.
Because, like, how long did it take in the first one? Like, how much of that was establishing before shit actually went crazy?
I feel like it was like 30 or 45 minutes in.
Because, like, the first thing that happens is the tree rape, right?
That's the first significant thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, her drawing the thing with her thing.
Yeah.
It sounds dirty, but when
broke
she's
the lead.
draws, yeah, yeah, in the special features, I broke the lead. I love that. I love Ellen Sandweiss. Anyway, Evil Dead 2. Let's do a little bit of backstory for this. Once again, directed by Sam Raimi,
Yeah.
co-written by Raimi and Scott Spiegel. But the most significant piece of backstory that I have that I need to get into before anything else is why this movie was made in the first place. So, Evil Dead comes out, right? Stephen King's like, oh, this is the best thing ever. And then it gets a lot of traction because of that, sells very well in the foreign market, makes a little bit of money over here, whatever. After that, Sam Raimi, you know, was sought after, kinda, and studios were willing to give him money to do whatever he wanted. So he had already established a relationship with the Coen brothers because Joel Coen helped edit it, and Ethan did some other shit. And so then the Coens and Sam Raimi decided to team up and write a movie. And then it was picked up by a studio for production, and that movie was called Crime Wave. Man,
You've all heard of it.
is that movie something? So I watched Crime Wave. I rented it and I watched it. And, you know, it's almost good. It's like a Tex Avery cartoon, if you know what those are, which are like old, like weird slapstick fucking cartoons. But like, it's that, but in live action mixed with like noir and horror. And it's really fucking weird. And the lead character was originally written for Bruce Campbell, but the studio didn't let Sam Raimi cast him in that role. So they got somebody else, and I don't know his fucking name, but it doesn't matter.
It's not Bruce Campbell.
Because you can tell that role was written for Bruce. Like the way it's like somebody's doing a bad Bruce Campbell impression for the role of Ajax, because Bruce Campbell's in the movie. He plays a character named Ronaldo the Heel, and he's this real suave fucking lady killer type. And, you know, cool, but he should have been the main character, because this movie would have been elevated so much if just that small change had happened.
What year was that?
That was 1985. So
Okay.
I wrote down all this shit. Evil Dead 2 was made after the critical and commercial failure that was Crime Wave. Crime Wave was a 1985 horror comedy that was written by Raimi and the Coen brothers. It was a mix of film noir, slapstick comedy, black comedy, and B-movie conventions. I also want to add that it definitely feels like something, or it feels like something that was written by the Coens, because I love the Coen brothers. They're like one of my favorite filmmakers ever. And it feels like something that they would write. In fact, if you've seen Raising Arizona, it almost feels like a progenitor for that. And then you have Raimi's touches in there too. But it doesn't, like, feel like it when you're watching it. You know what I mean? Like if you read it, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, I get it." But like watching it, it's absolutely doesn't. It feels almost soulless, which is because of what I'm about to get into. But yeah, the whole shtick of it was that it portrayed a bizarre situation involving a death row inmate. It was a miserable experience for Campbell, Raimi, and the Coens because studio executives basically took the film out of Sam's hands and re-edited it to make it their own. For instance, Sam initially wanted Bruce Campbell in the lead role, but the producers wanted a Hollywood talent. And for the record, I don't know who the fuck was the lead role, and that I did not recognize him.
That's always how it goes.
I don't know who the fuck he is. And stated that Bruce would not star in the film. Also, Bruce Campbell had to audition for it, which is something he never had to do for a Raimi film. So he was already like taken aback, and then Raimi showed it to the producers, and they were like, "No, we don't like him." And I'm like, "How the fuck can you not like Bruce Campbell? That's dumb. You're stupid." Oh my god. Anyway, so in retaliation, Sam lengthened the role of a bit part character, which was Ronaldo, and gave it to Bruce. The shooting of the film also went over budget and over schedule, which is why the studio execs stepped in to supervise and basically take over the project. There were a number of issues outside of the studio interference, however. The lead actress fired her makeup artist while under the influence of coke, and much to the chagrin of the cast and crew, decided to do her own makeup, which was horrendous. She would also refuse to leave her trailer. Actor Brian James also trashed his hotel room in an attempt to ward off a ghost from his light fixtures. This is fucking real.
Nice.
All sounds like a much better movie.
Right? The making of Crime Wave, absolutely. There was also a scene that called for there to be running water in like a river, but the river they were shooting at was frozen, so they blew it up with dynamite after like numerous attempts to try to thaw it out or whatever. The crew also spent a week filming by a nursing home with loud wind machines blowing for hours on end. At one point, someone threw a message in a bottle out of a window from the nursing home. The note read, "The noise is keeping me awake all night long, and I am getting sick. I am dying because of you." The studio refused to give Sam Raimi final cut, and also didn't initially want to pay for Bruce Campbell's hotel for him to stay in LA during post-production. At one point, Bruce got into an argument with the producers, claiming that they were guilty of nickel and dime bullshit. The producers called Bruce an asshole, and the whole experience affected Bruce negatively, and he vowed never to work with a big studio again because he felt that it was soulless and just a business, which he is right, by the way. That movie has a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I remember when I listened to the audiobook for If Chins Could Kill. We're not sponsored by Audible, but if we were, I'd recommend that. That and Hail to the Chin, both are great. But I remember him talking about Crime Wave and talking about like how shitty it was that the studio just came in and they were like, "No, you can't do that." And then the same thing happened to Sam Raimi when Spider-Man 3 came around, which just kind of sucks. But, you know, that's Hollywood. They're just going to try to make money, and it sucks. But the failure of that, Sam was like real upset about it. And Scott Spiegel, I think, or was it? It was one of the. It was either one of the producers or Scott Spiegel came up to Sam, and they were like, "Hey, why don't we just like, you know, we had ideas for Evil Dead 2. Why don't we do something with that?" So then Sam Raimi wrote the script, but a lot of production companies were like hesitant because, you know, Crime Wave happened, and Stephen King once again was like, "Hey, I'm gonna talk with a producer with this one studio, and I'll see if I can convince him." And he did. So then Evil Dead 2 got made off the bones of Crime Wave, which is great. That's fantastic. I'm glad. That's like the only good thing about this timeline is that Crime Wave failed and Evil Dead 2 came out. And Evil Dead 2 had an all-star effects team headlined by Greg Nicotero, who does a lot of shit with who did a lot of shit with Romero. He did stuff with Walking Dead. Icon did a lot of stuff with John Carpenter as well. And Mark Shostrom and Robert Kutzman and Tom Sullivan. All of them did the makeup effects. That's fucking stacked. Like, that's a really good team.
There's like they made a team like K&B. Yes. Is what it's called. Like, I think this is what they did like right before. Like, this is where they all met, I think.
Yeah. This was the movie that got them all together. Yeah.
Can't remember what all the letters stand for. It's the names. Like, N is Nicotero, and then KB is something else.
Yeah, and then Shostrom, I think, was like the He was like, in the interviews on the special features, they were talking about how like Sjostrom was like kind of like the one in charge and all that shit. But yeah, it was a commercial success. It made $5.9 million off of a $3.5 million budget, and it was also critically successful at the time of release. And ever since, it's gained a cult following and become even more beloved. At 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, the consensus is Evil Dead 2's increased special effects and slapstick gore make it as good, if not better, than the original. And with that, I'll ask everybody how they feel about it. Justin, how do you feel about Evil Dead 2?
I like it more than the first one.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's the consensus among
The
among
gore
us.
and just everyone's craziness in their eyes and all their acting is just perfect.
Yeah, the bigger budget definitely helped out, and then all the performances are, especially Bruce Campbell.
Like it's just the first one like multiplied,
Yeah,
just like exponentially increased.
which is what you'd want from a sequel, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
And we get it with this. It still holds up to this day, just as amazing as the first time I saw it. I love this movie so much.
It's what set the standard for the franchise.
Absolutely.
Like the first one was a good prototype, and this one is where it found its footing.
Yeah, and it was it's very good. Another little fun fact is that before he decided to make Evil Dead 2, somebody offered Sam Raimi to direct a film adaptation of Thinner by Stephen King, but he turned it down. I can only imagine how fucking batshit that would have been with Sam Raimi's style for Thinner. That would be insane. But yeah, and then as I mentioned, Stephen King did all that stuff. When they wrote Evil Dead 2, they were living with the Coen brothers and Frances McDormand, who's married to one of them. I don't remember which one. And Kathy Bates was there too. And Holly Hunter, who served as the inspiration for Bobby Joe, who's a character in the movie. And she's like a real, tough cookie type character. And she spits a lot. I don't know why. That's like one of her defining character traits. She only does it twice. I don't know, but she does it twice. Evil Dead 2 wasn't submitted to the MPAA because the distributor knew that it would receive an X rating, which is why Rosebud, the first little bumper,
The fake studio
is what shows up. I don't even think it was ever submitted. It never got a rating. Like, to this day, I don't think it has a rating on the back of the box. It might be R, because, like, by today's standards,
Yeah.
it would probably be rated R. But I guess back in the 80s, people were clutching their pearls and shocked.
Well, it wasn't. I guess it wasn't an R when it came out, but I remember like in the commentary, Sam was talking about that. Like the reason the blood is like 3 different colors is they're trying to get around that.
Yeah, because the studio, the production company, like, told them, look, you have to deliver an R rating. Do whatever you have to do to get an R rating. And that multicolored blood trick is something that's been done before, or like just desaturating the colors, which is what Scorsese did for the end of Taxi Driver, is he just desaturated everything. And what sucks is that we're never going to see that like restored because the original negative got lost to time, or that original footage got lost to time. But that's Taxi Driver. We're talking about Evil Dead 2 now. But yeah, there's green blood, there's red blood,
There's black blood.
there's black bile blood. Yeah,
There's blue blood.
is there?
When he chainsaws rotten apple heads.
Oh yeah, the rotten apple. Yeah, everything, but it's not all red. It's kind of crazy how in the 80s they clutched their pearls about this. But then Evil Dead's remake came out and just completely makes this look like a fucking cartoon show.
I mean,
Like,
and also
ridiculous.
It's like Serious Sam did with its blood.
Oh, yeah.
Red, green,
Yeah.
flowers or
Yeah.
none.
Yeah,
that was an option in Resident Evil 2 to have like
the green blood.
green
Yeah,
and blue blood.
who could forget Mortal Kombat on the
on
the home consoles?
With just
where
no blood
It was
at all.
sweat.
Deception had that.
Yeah, and Deception and Deadly Alliance both had no blood options. I remember probably Armageddon too. New Mortal Kombat games say fuck that. They just do whatever they want now. And again, it's so crazy. Like watching this movie and realizing how much of a controversy it would have stirred at the time. I mean, even the original. It's crazy to look at that and then watch a movie like a horror movie that came out today, like Terrifier 2's in theaters now, and that's like, it's unrated, but that's like, I think is the tippy top of like a gore fest right now. And you have stuff like the Evil Dead remake and everything, and that's all way worse than anything that happens in this movie. Way worse.
What was Dead Alive? Was that X or was that R?
That one was, I think it had to be R because
so.
it was an Australian movie, right? So because that's Peter Jackson or New Zealand, yeah,
something.
Because I watched Tenebrae recently, which is a giallo, and when that one came to America, they had to re-edit it for an R rating, which again, you watch that and you're like, man, people got upset over this. Like this was graphic, and you watch a horror movie now and you're like, oh wow, this is a lot more graphic than anything that happened in a giallo movie. But
I mean, censors are stupid. We know this.
Censors are fucking stupid. They're still stupid.
Sam mentions in the commentary, like over in the UK, they were fine with everything in this movie, but they cut out the bit of Ash getting kicked in the face while he was unconscious.
Yeah, everything else was fine.
Because a person getting attacked while unconscious is where they draw the line, I guess.
Also in the commentary, I'm gonna say I don't know if that's true only because of this. Because also in the commentary, there's that bit where Sam Raimi's talking about how he was on a motorcycle for that opening shot and he broke Bruce Campbell's jaw. But in his autobiography, Bruce Campbell was like, that never happened. We just made that up to see who would believe it. And people believed it. He's like, so we just kind of ran with it for a while. But yeah, the MPA stuff. Also, another fun fact is John Carmack, the omniscient nerd that he is, came up with the idea for Doom after a D&D campaign that, and I quote, combined the styles of Aliens and Evil Dead 2. And that was like...
That sounds fucking rad.
It does, right? That sounds like an awesome campaign. And then he made Doom with John Romero, and that's a whole nother thing. And they're gonna have to cover those movies at some point. The Rotten Apple Head that Cale mentioned earlier was left in North Carolina and just disappeared. Only to be found years later at a haunted house attraction in Wadesboro, North Carolina. Yeah, I think that's hilarious.
Someone just took it off set. It's like, we can use this.
Like, fuck, this is scary. And then they just took it, and they fucking had a ball with it. That's awesome.
Actually, I don't think we explained what that is. The rotten apple head is the giant tree head that comes in at the end of the movie.
Yeah, at the very end. It's a little. I don't know why I thought that like bitch was a part of its nickname for some reason, but that's the pit bitch in Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness.
And so when I was rewatching the commentary, I was like, I thought it was like Apple bitch or some shit. Like
Apple bitch.
Like what a shitty fucking name, but I thought that's what it was.
Rotten apple bitch.
That's what you call bad service at Applebee's. Yeah, Rotten apple bitch.
That's an OnlyFans name.
That is an OnlyFans name. Absolutely indeed. But yeah, so that's I think that's everything else I want to talk about with this is like as we're recapping. The Evil Dead 2 is fantastic. It's a great movie. One of the best horror movies of all time, dare I say. Definitely one of the best horror comedies of all time.
Yeah.
I think it has a lot of influence in that specific genre too.
And inspired Edgar Wright's entire career, probably.
Yep, Edgar Wright. That's a big one. That's a real big one. But yeah, so why don't we go ahead and give it a little recap and just talk about the little fun facts as we do that. Since this is your favorite of the trilogy or the franchise, right, Cale?
Yeah, it's got to be.
All right, so before we get into that, because I'm gonna let you recap a bit of it, but before we get into the recap, we got to talk about the recap that's at the beginning of the movie.
Oh yeah.
So they wanted to have they wanted to do like a short like last time on type thing at the beginning of the movie, but they didn't have the rights to it because if there's one thing about the Evil Dead franchise, the rights are all fucked up and scattered all over the place. For instance, in Ash vs. Evil Dead's, I think throughout the entire show, actually, they could not mention Army of Darkness because that was owned by, I think, Universal or Lionsgate or something. And they could not mention Army of Darkness. This isn't the only horror franchise that has this issue. Friday the 13th has that issue too, which was recently cleared up, and now we're getting a prequel series that can apparently use anything it wants.
But yeah, by Brian Fuller.
By Brian fucking Fuller of all people.
And produced by A24.
Which sounds insane. I'm actually kind of intrigued. Like
he has a good track record, and like it's a weird idea doing a prequel to Friday the 13th, but
I mean it worked with Bates Motel though. Depending on who you ask.
That's different, but also like I'm pretty sure a lot of people are like, "Oh, Hannibal would never work as a series."
Yeah, and Hannibal worked as a series.
That show
also, Mom, I know you're listening. Brian Fuller did Dead Like Me. That's who that is. And another show that got canceled too early. Brian Fuller is like the epitome of can't catch a break.
Pushing Daisies too, I think was
Pushing Daisies, Dead Like Me, Hannibal, all were like he never got to finish them.
American Gods.
American Gods, yeah. It's going to happen again with Friday the 13th, but you know...
As long as we get one good season.
As long as we get one good season. But yeah, it's good. It's a very interesting concept, but I think Brian Fuller can pull it off.
But Evil Dead...
But Evil Dead, yes, is cursed with rights issues. So they didn't have the rights for that, so they decided to just reshoot everything. They couldn't get any of the original actors back. Probably because they all changed their names and moved to different parts of the country.
And wanted nothing to do with Sam ever again.
Never again. So they got a new actress to play Linda, and it was just Linda and Ash in this recap. And I remember watching Evil Dead 1 and 2 with a friend one time, and he was like, "Is this like, did he go back?" And I'm like, "No, he didn't go back. This is a recap, kinda." But it also retcons a bunch of shit.
Retcon recap.
Even like after the ending of the first movie where he gets hit by the evil, which according to Bruce Campbell he's dead. Like that was supposed to kill him. Like Ash was not supposed to survive that. That was the implication, was that the evil gets him and he dies.
Yeah.
Because Evil Dead was never meant to be a franchise. That's why they were going to go do Crime Wave and all this other shit. And then that, you already know what happened with that. But all that shit got retconned. You have like the picture of Annie, the daughter, in the cabin now when Ash and Linda first get there, and you have him struggling with Linda and all that stuff. And the recap is fairly short. I think while we were watching it, Cale mentioned we're like 5 minutes into this, and it's already like
he's already decapitated his girlfriend with a shovel
and buried her and all that shit. And then the evil hits him, and he gets flung what seems like yards, and he's just in front of the house.
Maybe he went in a circle.
Yeah, he probably went in a circle. Funny thing about that is in one of the special features they were talking about how it was like they had this long stretch of road and they shot it at a very low frame rate, and it was just they were just moving Bruce like back and forth, and they had like every member of the cast and crew just had like branches that they would just come hit Bruce with, and Sam Raimi was the first one every time to just hit him and then run away and then hit him again and then run away, and then they just sped it up and we get what we get in the movie. And then what happens after that, Cale?
That's when he smacks into a tree, falls into a puddle for way too long, probably on Sam's orders.
Yes, it is on Sam's orders.
And then he pops up and we get our first look at Evil Ash. He's all possessed by the evil, and I guess the sun's not out.
No.
So it's there, and then the sun does come out, and then the evil goes away.
Yeah, and then Ash very quietly was like, "It's the sun."
Yeah.
It's the sun.
A line that I've never noticed until I watched it with subtitles.
Yeah, I didn't either, because it's like mixed so low. The only time I can hear it is when my AC's off. Yeah. But yeah, that his head being underwater, that wasn't real muddy water. I think it was. No. I think Bruce Campbell said it was like just a bunch of like food dye or something.
Like they didn't want dirt getting into the contacts.
Contacts, because it's the same shitty contacts.
So they just dyed it with something probably worse.
Yeah, and like there's like
chocolate milk.
There's
like
probably, but there's like daily footage of Sam Raimi just saying, "All right, bubbles, Bruce, bubbles, and up," and then he comes up and he screams and shit, and I'm just like, oh my god, poor Bruce, like that's awful. But yeah, it was definitely on Sam's orders, and yeah, the same shitty contacts are in, and
or you're completely blind.
He's completely blind and everything. But yeah, what happens after the evil goes away, Cale?
Is that when he decides he needs to get the fuck out of there?
Yes, because he looks at the cabin.
Oh yeah.
And that like ghostly image transposes itself, and it's just like join us. And then Bruce is like,
He makes a smart horror character decision.
he like looks at the cabin, looks at the car, looks back at the cabin, and then it's just a shot of him driving away. I love it. But yeah, he makes a smart decision for sure.
And then yeah, we get another instance of the bridge being torn to bits.
Yes.
By the evil. And then the bit with the sun going down, I always wondered, like, was that just like a natural occurrence of the sun going down, or was that supposed to be like oh shit, like it's going down really fast, like something's causing this?
Given the lore from Ash vs. Evil Dead, I think it's just the evil like manipulating time.
Yeah.
Because that cabin specifically has like weird fucking properties to it.
Like the way it like hides the trail, like later on in the movie.
Yeah. Also, I want to mention that this film was shot out of order. The exteriors were shot first, I believe. No, the exteriors were shot last, I think, because Bruce Campbell kept mentioning that while they were in when they were in the cabin, that they had to keep guessing how he was gonna look.
Oh yeah.
Because they shot all the interior stuff first.
They never get it right.
In a high school gymnasium, by the way, in Wadesboro. I keep wanting to say Woodsboro, but that's
Scream.
That's the town from Scream. Yeah, but it's Wadesboro, which so they shot all the interiors, and then what was it? They did the exteriors, and the place they shot the exteriors at was on the same lot where they shot The Color Purple, which was a Spielberg movie. What a change of pace, huh? Spielberg to Sam Raimi. And yeah, and then as far as I know, there was like a featurette on the Blu-ray too, which is the 25th anniversary edition Blu-ray. I don't know what year that would be, but the cabin was still standing. It looked like shit, but it was still standing, surprisingly. But let me see. So where were we? The sun goes down. It's a blue screen effect, I think.
It's something like that. And then he's like, all right, never mind. Gets back in the car.
Yeah, because the evil comes back to him. Yeah,
starts a car chase. Where a dummy flies out the front.
Before that, there's that shot of him driving.
Oh yeah,
and that branch.
Obviously, Sam.
That Sam Raimi just put in there to fuck with him, and then a dummy flies out, and then we get one of my favorite shots in the movie.
Yeah.
Which is a POV shot of the evil going towards the bumper of the car, lifting up, and then crashing through the back and rear windshields. To head towards the cabin. And I think they said that they tried that a number of times, and it took them a while to get it down because it would either like go in the wrong way or it would clip like the rearview mirror or it would like fuck something up. And it took them a minute, but I'm glad they achieved it because that's a very cool
Plus, I think they
shot.
said like, it was like 100-pound rig or it's just like the camera on a pole. And, and they had to get like 7 or 8 people to like hold it up and like steer it through.
It was like in a line that they were like moving forward, yeah. And so then he gets chased into the house by the evil at this point, I think, right?
Yeah, that's when you get the tracking shot of him just like running through, like going into the walls and shit.
Another one of my favorite shots or sequences.
You can see the top of the cabin cut out.
the top of the set. Yeah. But like those little goofs, I think, just give the movie like more charm.
Oh yeah, like all the like inaccuracies.
Yeah,
because
it feels like a B movie, and I love me a good B movie. So this is like right up my alley. That's probably why I like it so much. But
then he very quickly hides in the cellar to get away from it.
Yes. And then that weird like looping shot.
Yeah, it's like that 2-second loop.
That 2-second loop where he picks his head up and like you see his eye like twitching a little bit.
And then from there is when we're introduced to the Nobi family, right?
I think so. Where we get that's when. Oh yeah. Because the evil leaves the house and that black smoke comes in, and I always think of it as evil just passing a fat poof. You know what I mean? Whether it's a vapor or a fart, up to you. But then we get that shot of the plane. And and Rob Tappert failing to open it.
Yeah.
And Sam just left it in. But yeah, we're introduced to Annie. I can never remember the name of the blonde dude.
Ed?
Did they ever say it?
They might not have, but I know like whenever they show his effect, whenever he goes dead-eyed, that's called Evil Ed.
Evil Ed, yeah, okay. It's Ed and Annie, and they're coming off the plane, and they're talking something about Annie's father, right? I think. And
How he's at the cabin with the book and blah blah blah.
yeah, and then he's like, oh well, I haven't heard from him in a week and all this other shit.
And how
And-
she found the pages that were missing.
Yeah, they found the missing pages and all that fun stuff, and that's going to come into play later, obviously. Love a good reincorporation, and then we go back to Ash before we get the scene where they meet Jake and Bobby Joe, right?
Yeah, that's when I think he's just like biding his time in the cabin, and then that's when Linda shows up again.
Yeah, she pops out of the ground,
Yeah,
and she does a little dance number.
some very good stop motion effects.
Yeah, so I was a little kid, little baby boy, and I was at my uncle's house, and my cousin Albert was watching Evil Dead 2. I think he was watching it with the commentary on too, because he said that I talked to Albert about it later, but he said that like he would watch Evil Dead 2 with the commentary on like once a day for like a pretty long time. Like that was just like part of his day, is he would just watch it with the commentary and just love it.
Best part of waking up.
Yeah, and then with the part I remember is because I remember I knew it was a horror movie, so I remember being scared of it and asking Albert like, "What's gonna happen?" And then he's like, "Oh, nothing bad." He's like, "It's not bloody." He's like, she's gonna cut her head off. It's whatever." And then like she gets her head decapitated, and then the shot I remember though was of her doing the little stop motion dance, and I remember I thought it looked so fucking weird. At the time, because I didn't know what stop motion was. I was like, what? I don't know, like 5 or 6? I don't fucking know. I had already seen The Thing at this point, or at least enough of The Thing to scar me. Also, I want to mention, I'll talk about that whenever we get to that movie. Never mind. Scratch that. But, yeah, it's, so, that's the one shot I remember, and to this day, every time I see it, it just reminds me of that. But yeah, it's very good stop motion effects. There's a lot of good stop motion in this movie, just like in the first one.
And mentioned in the commentary that her dance was choreographed by his old drama teacher,
Yes.
Sam's old drama teacher.
Yeah, that's what I have too.
And then copied by the effects artist.
Yeah, I think my favorite bit. There's two of my favorite. There's 2 parts in that dance that I like a lot. I like when her head stays stationary and her body's spinning,
Yeah.
and then I like the when she jumps away and she just like vanishes. I love that so much. It's so fucking goofy. And then at that point, Ash is like still looking out the window, right? And then that's when Linda
She pops up, grabs him.
pops up and grabs him.
And then he realizes he was just like hallucinating. Mm-hmm. He's in the chair trying to scream, but he can't.
He can't scream per Sam's direction. And then does Linda's head fall into his lap?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just plops down.
It just plops down, and then initially, there was going to be, Linda's head was gonna have like a long ass tongue that was gonna come out.
Yeah, the tongue was going to come out of her mouth and go into Bruce's.
Yeah, and like there's B-roll footage of him with the tongue in his mouth, and he was doing reverse acting where he was like being retracted, and I think Greg Nicotero said that like Bruce Campbell was like the best at reverse acting. It might have been Ted Raimi. It was in an interview on the special features. He was talking about how Bruce is like the best at reverse acting. And yeah, I mean, there are some shots in the first one and in this one where I didn't know they were reverse acting until like they mentioned it, specifically with Bruce Campbell too. Because like I can kind of tell with other people, but with Bruce, he's a very good actor, and he does a lot of great physical acting in this movie. Especially in a scene that we're gonna be coming up to in a second here, because like I said, this movie moves fucking quick. Like everything happens very fast.
Yeah, we're already about 20 minutes in.
Yeah, it moves quick. But yeah, Linda's head starts biting his hand, and
We get Bruce just fighting with himself, which he's so adept at.
yes, and because he's got like the dummy head on his hand. And then there are some shots where Linda,
It's just a close up of her face, like biting
on the hand. And then in the midst of all this, you hear a very clearly 80-yard line of just work shed. And then he goes into he leaves the work shed. Now Bruce Campbell in the commentary, I think, said that he did say the line on set, but like it's not that it wasn't clear enough. I don't remember the exact reason why they overdubbed it, but they overdubbed it, and it's so prominent that Bruce Campbell worked on Escape from L.A., with Kurt Russell. Not a great movie from what I've heard, but it was John Carpenter's late '90s. It's not it's not great. It's John Carpenter. Love John Carpenter, but Escape from L.A. But anyway, Kurt Russell came up to him and just literally said, "Say work shed." Like that's just
the first thing he said to him.
That's the first thing he said to him. I first heard about that in If Chins Could Kill, and I was like, man, that's gotta. That's the of all the things to haunt you as an actor, it's that clearly overdubbed work shed. And he goes into the work shed. And what happens when he goes into the work shed? We all know what happens.
Yeah, but puts old girl's head in a vice.
Mm-hmm.
She tries, or no, that's after. He tries to find the chainsaw, sees a chalk outline of it.
Comical chalk outline.
As you have for your tools. And then Linda's body very kindly brings it to him.
Yeah, and the behind the scenes for this, there's footage of somebody like under the rig of Linda's body, like attacking Bruce, and Sam's like, hit him, and really give it to him, really hit him hard, and then Bruce pushes the chainsaw back into her neck cavity, and all this black blood and shit flies on him. And Linda was also supposed to spit bile at him at this point. There's makeup tests of them trying it out, and it's pretty cool. It never happened. That's why there's a part where Linda turns into a regular person and then turns back into a deadite, and she's got like a bunch of black shit around her mouth. That's why. Because of that.
Well, I guess so. I assumed that was just blood from her fucking neck hole.
It still works.
Yeah, it still works.
Still works. And then after that, he gets the chainsaw. And he starts cutting her up.
Yeah, we get the cool shot of the blood splashing on the light bulb, and
it makes everything look red.
Yeah.
Even Freddy's glove that's above
Freddy
the
glove
door,
hanging above the shed.
Which I think we talked about in the last episode because it was The Hills Have Eyes was the first reference.
And Evil Dead, and then
was in Nightmare on Elm Street, and then you know how it is.
I think that's where it ended. I can't remember if it.
Yeah, I don't think Craven did it again because the next movie would have been what, New Nightmare that he directed, or at least from that franchise.
Wait, like what do you mean?
Like as far as like directing a Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because I think Dream Warriors had already come out at that point.
Yeah,
Dream Warriors.
Yeah, can't wait to cover that one. I love that one. But anyway, what happens next, Cale?
Do we go back to the family after that?
Yeah, I think that's when they drive up.
I think that's when they drive up to Bobby, Joe, and Jake. Yeah. So they drive up. And Jake's all like, fucking the bridge is out.
Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, that's when his hand gets possessed.
Oh, how'd we forget?
Yeah, he goes back in, he grabs the shotgun, and then, his hand starts going crazy.
And this is where we get the great physical acting.
Yeah. And then it cuts back to the folks.
It's like right after he cuts his hand off, right?
No, that's he says, "Give me back my hand." Kind of pans out.
Oh, okay.
And then it goes back to them.
Yeah, that's when I get, I'm not even gonna say spoilers at this point, but you already know. But anyway, so it's Jake and Bobby Joe, and Jake's like, "Oh yeah, the bridge is out," and Bobby Joe appears out of thin air apparently and spits poorly, I might add.
Iconic.
And iconic, absolutely.
Yeah, where the fuck was she?
And she just pops up. Like, she just shows up and just spits for no fucking reason. And I'm like, damn, bitch, all right, work.
She was pissing in the woods.
Yeah. Probably. She'll be doing something else in the woods later. But,
That's what happens when you're not Holly Hunter.
Yeah, when you're not. Yeah, exactly. So that role, like I mentioned earlier, was written for Holly Hunter. And there's a story that they tell in the commentary where, like, she was auditioning for a role. And she was dressed a certain way, and I think it was Scott Spiegel that complimented her on how she looked, and she was like, "I'm auditioning to be a whore." She's like, "Don't you dare fucking say that about me," or something like that. and that story just like, I don't know, man. I could 100% imagine Holly Hunter saying that. But yeah, Bobby Joe is played by, I don't remember her name, but
I mean, that says everything you need to know.
But she's in a bunch of soap operas apparently.
Yeah.
And she reminds me of Holly Hunter. Like, you can tell the role was written for Holly Hunter, but I mean, it still works. And then Jake is played by I can't remember his name either, but he's dead.
Dan Hicks.
Dan Hicks. There we go. R.I.P. because he died of a cancer. That's what it was. He died of cancer not long ago. I think like 2019, 2020.
Yeah, I think it said like June 2020.
Yeah, is when he died. So that's rough. There's some nice interviews with him in the special features where he's talking about how he initially read for the part, and then he asked Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell, "Y'all want to see me do it with my real teeth now?" And they were like, "What do you mean?" And then he takes off his false teeth, and the teeth that you see in Evil Dead 2 are his actual teeth, and then he talked about how there's a specific scene later on that almost killed him, and we'll talk about that, and a scene that almost killed Bruce coming up too, because Sam Raimi loves to almost kill his actors. Boy, howdy, does he love to do it. But anyway, we get introduced to them, and then I think Bobby Joe says, like, there's a trail that y'all can take, and then Annie's like, well, can you show us, or something like that, and he's like, I don't remember the deal they make, but the deal ends up being that Jake has to carry all their luggage, which he thought was just 2 little bags, and it ends up being like a whole ass fucking
trunk.
Well, first
like
he
trunk.
said for like $45, and then Bobby Joe hits him. He's like $100.
That's right.
And what's her name? Annie's like, okay, if you carry the bags, it's a deal. And he looks and sees just the pages in her purse.
But what was in that trunk?
I have no idea.
I don't think there was anything. I think that served only as a sight gag.
Yeah.
I don't think there was anything in that fucking trunk.
You don't even see it again.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't even see it again. Like, oh my god, I love it. That's again, it's just part of the charm. But anyway,
and then after that is when
we go back to
Bruce versus Hand.
Bruce versus Hand, and he's getting pieced up, and all this was done in one take, from what I remember hearing, and Bruce made himself flip, and Bruce did all his own stunts just like he did in the first one. He did all of his own stunts except for, I think, one where he falls through stairs. But every other stunt in the movie he did. And, he does a great job. Great physical acting here. Like, one of my favorite bits of the movie, for sure.
Like you watch this and, like, you don't question that, like you just look at it and you're like, oh, yeah, that hand is possessed. That makes sense.
Like even when the hand first gets possessed, like, the acting that he does is incredible, man. I love his performance in this movie so much. It's like peak B-movie slapstick. It's perfect.
You got Sam making his
that Sam's doing
noises as the hand.
and then the hand successfully knocks Bruce out and sees a cleaver, and it starts going towards that cleaver, and we get a nice POV shot,
a hand's eye view
of the hand's eye view, as it's just dragging Bruce over, but then, just in the nick of time, Bruce stabs the hand into the ground.
Ash.
Yes, Ash, Bruce, they're the same person.
Bruce in real life stabs his hand.
Yeah, he IRL stabbed his hand. He's actually missing his right hand. You go meet him at conventions, he don't have it,
It's fake.
It's a very fake hand, yeah. But he stabs the hand, and then he's like, who's laughing now? And then one of the best lines in horror movie history, grabs the chainsaw, revs it up, who's laughing now? As he fucking cuts his hand off. Iconic.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
I think they said they had like a bunch of like the crew just spraying blood into his face to get that shot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I love that scene. And then we get a good sight gag with the farewell to arms bit after that. Because Bruce traps it under like what, a waste bucket?
The tiny little trash can or something.
It doesn't do shit because it's an evil hand. You can't stop an evil hand. I learned that.
Yeah, hand gets away. They have a little cat and mouse. Almost literally. I think there's a rat just hanging out.
And the hand gets caught in a mouse trap. And the hand gets caught in a mouse trap, and then Bruce tries to shoot it.
Yeah, thinks he does.
And then it flips him off. And then he thinks he shoots it again, and then blood starts coming out of the wall. And then it's
first a little, then a little bit more, and then a lot more.
And it's a fucking geyser. Yeah. And this is the scene that almost killed Bruce, because Bruce was like, he wasn't laying down, but he was like in a position to where...
Yeah, they're on a horizontal set.
Yes.
And I think he said he was like laying on a diving board or something like that. And then they just dump gallons of fake blood into his face.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the second time on the shoot he almost drowned. But he's made it out. He's a trooper. And then like they shoot like black shit at him too. And then all the blood just goes away. And then that's when Bruce is kind of like, Ash is kind of like, what the fuck's going on? And then he hears like a crack. And then he looks at the
No,
elk's
that's
head.
he falls through the chair.
Oh, yeah. He falls
then
through the chair.
Deer starts laughing at him.
And the chair starts laughing at him. And then he looks up at the elk's head. And then it's doing, I can't do it, but it's doing like this crazy fucking laugh. And the whole room starts laughing at him.
Yeah, grand old time.
And then one of my favorite bits too is that shot, that single take of him looking at the camera crazy, and then walking up to the lamp and mimicking its movements, and then just dying laughing. But then he hears a noise at the door, and immediately shoots.
Yeah, I like how everything just like goes still
Yeah.
all at once. That must have taken some coordination.
Absolutely. And then he shoots at the door, hears a noise, and then I guess Jake also has powers of invisibility or whatever, like Bobby Joe, because he comes out of fucking nowhere
Yeah.
from Bruce's line of sight, I might add.
They even mentioned that in the commentary from the amount of distance he would have had to cover. Like Ash would have seen him for like 3 seconds.
Yes, and
before
then
he tackled him.
And then he gets tackled, and they have a little fist fight.
I don't know why when he shoots through the door, for some reason I just immediately thought of a part in Parks and Recreation.
Oh,
where
yeah?
They go on a hunting trip and they somebody accidentally shoots one of the others.
Oh yeah, Tom shoots Ron
Yeah.
like in the head.
And then they start talking about, somebody's hunting us, blah, blah. And, they hear a noise outside, and one of the characters, Jerry's like, Tom, go out there and shoot over his head so you can scare him off. It's like, why am I going to shoot over his head? I'm going to shoot under his head.
Yeah, I need to watch Parks and Rec. I probably should.
You should.
I think The Office burned me out of
Yeah.
shows like that. But Parks and Rec is better from what I've seen and
It-
heard. So
Yeah, it is.
maybe one day. But
I have
yeah,
the whole series. You can borrow it.
Yeah, you got time.
yeah, right. This is like I have plenty of time. I do nothing, right? Anyway, so what happens next after the little fist fight? That's when we get to the part that the UK censors didn't like,
Yeah, the part that goes too far,
Where-
In the head.
where Ash gets kicked in the face.
while unconscious.
Yeah,
Then
because
he
you can't kick a good man while he's down.
And he gets kicked in the face again down the stairs.
Yeah, because they throw him in the stairs because Annie's like, "What did you do?" And she sees the chainsaw full of blood.
So
He must have killed the parents.
yeah, I mean it's a rational, pretty rational outcome.
Yeah, they haven't been there, so they don't know, you know, and then so they throw him in the cellar,
Yeah,
and Annie starts. First Bobby Joe spits again, her
Iconic.
trademark, her iconic trademark, lover. Anyway, she spits on him, and then Ash, with his dog hearing, listens as Annie listens to the tape that her father made where he talks about how Henrietta became a Deadite and how he didn't have the nerve to dismember her, so he just buried her in the fruit cellar. And then Ash is like, uh-oh. And then Henrietta pops up in stop motion before revealing her true form as Ted Raimi in a gross old woman's makeup. And
we get an iconic horror scream.
yeah, that Ash gives, where he screams like a girl. I think that's the direction that Sam gave him. It's. I wish I could recreate it. It's so fucking funny. You know what? That's actually that might be the beginning of the podcast. It's just that scream. But yeah. So then Ash starts freaking out as Henrietta's like, "There's somebody in my fruit cellar," and and she starts creeping up on Ash, and Ash starts freaking out, and they let him out.
Yeah. Unexpectedly, they do believe him.
They do believe him after Henrietta transforms into this gross ass looking head.
Yeah, making monkey sounds.
Making monkey sounds, and they fight her off, and then they're able to close the cellar door and pop one of her eyes out, and and the eye just flies into Bobby Joe's mouth.
And she swallows it.
Yeah, she swallows it. And then I think in the commentary, the one time she should have spit, she didn't. But I think in the commentary they're talking about. I think Bruce was talking about how at a test screening, 2 guys ran out of the theater because they were laughing so hard.
Yeah.
They didn't want to bother anybody. And
They just stayed by the exit the rest of the movie.
yeah, and so that all happens. They kick her down. They lock it up. Him and Jake put their weight on the cellar door, and crisis averted for now, and then I think they discussed some things, right?
We get a short little exposition break
Yes.
because Ash has dealt with the evil a whole 15 minutes longer than everyone else.
Yes.
So he knows the rules a little bit. He knows what he's seen, which is that there's something fucky out in those woods. It doesn't like sunlight, but it's some dark, mysterious force.
Yeah.
And then, like while they're arguing amongst themselves, Henrietta does her little fake out.
Yeah, where she sings, I think,
Hush,
"Hush, little baby, don't say a word." Yeah, and then Ash is like, "Annie, that's not your mom," or whatever. Yeah. And then she's like, "That is not my mother." And then Evil Ed pops up. Hey,
his
and
gross ass face.
And he's
Evil
one
Ed in the Evil Dead.
One of my favorite practical effects too, with his like rows of teeth. It's disgusting. Poor fucking the actor that played him, because he had to keep his mouth open, so he was just like drooling the whole time. It's so gross.
Like being at the dentist.
Oh yeah. Oh man, I hate the dentist. Talk about real horror. Is sitting in that chair as the dentist is cleaning up.
Yeah, put
You
that
know
movie
what's
on the
worse?
list.
That whole extra row of teeth thing can actually happen to you.
What?
Yeah, you didn't know that could actually happen.
Oh, I thought you said it happened to you.
No.
And I was like, what the fuck?
I can chew really fast.
But yeah, it reminds me of like a shark's mouth, because sharks have like those rows of teeth. You know what? I think I have seen a picture of that, and I was like, that's gross. It's like that picture of the kidney that's full of kidney stones. And I was like, that's gross. I know I showed it to you.
Yeah.
And I think I told Cale about it. And
remember
I
that.
was like, I won't show you. And he's like, good. And I was like, yeah. But yeah, it's a good picture.
Yeah.
It's a great picture. I showed it to one of my friends that's trying to be a doctor, and she automatically rejected it. And I was like, you're going to be a doctor, though. Like, you're going to see this shit.
Help me help you.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so he's got all these nasty-ass teeth. He's drooling everywhere. He's having a great time. Rips some of Bobby Joe's hair out.
He uses those rows of teeth to eat a big old clump of hair.
Big old clump of hair, which was an animatronic head that they had that swallowed it, because I don't think they were going to make the actor do it. And then
That's where they drew the line.
And then Henrietta's like, free me, free me. So then Evil Ed tries to go up to free her, and Jake's like, you son of a bitch. And then, the head just pivots 180 on him, and then I think just throws him into the air, right? And we get that fucking Bugs Bunny ass.
Yeah, throws him into a light bulb.
Throws him into the light bulb, yeah.
I think Sam made a joke in the commentary like, oh, he looks lightheaded.
That's a classic Sam. That's a joke that Justin would make, and
It
then I'd
is.
slap him for it, or get mad at him while we're playing Gears or something. But anyway, that all happens, and then when does the Dead by Dawn monologue happen? That's
That just happened. That's right before he gets the mouthful
the clump
of hair.
yeah, which was Scott Spiegel. I have it written down here.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I probably mentioned this in the last episode, but Scott Spiegel voices one of the little fucking black things in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
yeah.
Stephen Strange, like that's Scott Spiegel. I love it. That part made me smile so much. Anyway,
He's also the one that came up with the scene of everything laughing at him.
oh really?
I think he mentioned that in the commentary. Like, I think they were just fucking around on set, or I think when they were writing it, and he just grabbed like a lamp, like the one that was laughing, and just starts doing like a Popeye laugh with it.
Yeah. Okay, I remember that.
And then Sam saw him doing that. He's like, "That's gonna be a scene in the movie. We're putting that in there."
Yeah, it's just like how the stuff with the hand was inspired by Attack of the Helping Hand, which I think was Scott Spiegel's movie. I think.
Him, I think they all worked on it.
Yeah.
That was one of their.
And it's
early
where the
movies.
hamburger helper glove becomes evil and tries to kill the woman making hamburger helper. A legitimate fear that I've had before. But yeah, so what happens next is Bruce comes in with an axe after being called a filthy coward by Annie because he runs off. Bruce comes in with that axe and chops Evil Ed's head in half. And initially, and it's so cool because you see this in the behind-the-scenes B-roll stuff, but initially there was gonna be a part where Evil Ed was on the floor after Ash hacked him apart. And, it was going to be a recreation of that scene from the first movie when they hack up what's her fuck, and
Is that
she's-
Shelley?
Yeah, Shelly, and she's like squiggling on the floor.
Yeah, all of her parts are moving.
And they were gonna do that, but Ash was gonna be like, "Somebody grab the chainsaw," and then Evil Ed was gonna pop back up, and you were gonna see his head split in half. And they worked out this whole thing where he had like a little bitty brain with a bunch of webbing, and like it was gonna be this whole thing that just got cut out because they were already pushing an R rating, and they were trying to secure it. That's that. There's no like, and what's fucked up is all the deleted scenes. None of those camera negatives exist anymore. The only way you see them is the stuff that Greg Nicotero filmed while they were making the movie, which thank God he filmed it because, it's really cool to see that kind of stuff. I love, me, I'm a slut for practical effects. So, it's nice seeing all that.
Yeah.
It's like porn for me, But yeah, it's great. It's great. And Evil Ed goes down for the count. And then I don't remember what happens after that.
That's when we get another moment of silence before Nobi starts making like the doors and breaking on through to the other side.
Oh yeah.
And then that's when we get that one segment where everything just like starts going fucking crazy for a couple minutes.
Oh, where they hear all the noises.
Yeah,
and
just
moving around?
sounds
Yeah.
going all across the cabin. Things just
It's
moving.
like the fucking cat watching a fly.
Yeah.
just-
And then like there's all this squash and stretch shit. As far as and like a lot of that stuff I remember was filmed, or they talked about was filmed at lower frame rates too, and then like sped up, which leave it to Sam Raimi to do something unorthodox.
Yeah, like, and you can see in some of that. Like, I think they sort of use like sort of stop motion, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like it kind of gives it like this uncanny valley look, especially when you're using actors.
Yeah, and then they see the ghost of Annie's father, right?
Yeah, Professor Nobi.
Nobi, that's his name. Okay, yeah. And then yeah, he's like, "Oh, save your soul and your lives, or save
Yeah.
my soul, or
Save
whatever."
my soul.
Gives them a little exposition dump, saying like, "Hey, you can use those books or those pages you have to banish the evil."
That's how you reverse it and all that shit. And
How
then,
did he know that?
Because he's a professor, dude. Come on.
He studied it. He's a professor in Necronomicology.
Necronomicon.
Yeah.
Necrogoblicon.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Did they ever actually say that? They say it in the intro. I don't think they actually call it that at any
Necronomicon,
point.
I think she just calls it the Book of the Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or no, the something ex mortis.
Or well, they still call it the Naturam Damanto in this one. Like I think the only time Necronomicon is said is in like the little preamble.
Yeah, that's the only time it's said.
So they're probably still going back and forth on what the fuck to call it.
Yeah, because I don't think it's called a Necronomicon until Army, right?
Yeah, Army of Darkness.
Yeah. But yeah, so
Isn't that like a legitimate book?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a real quote unquote real thing.
yeah, and it's also a real thing that comes with the Evil Dead collection in the UK.
No, on sale.
Not anymore. I think
probably
it's
not.
out of print now.
It's probably
but
very
yeah.
expensive.
Yeah, it is now.
Just go on eBay and buy it for like thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about thousands, but it would be a lot.
It's like me looking at old Jurassic Park toys on Amazon,
Oh
on
my
eBay.
Those are the good ones though.
With the little JP branding.
Yeah.
I used to have some of those. I think I had a T-Rex where like part of his like a piece of flesh would pop off and you'd
Yeah,
see
the
his
battle
ribs.
damage.
Yeah, the battle damaged ones. Yeah, I had those.
But
I
I always wanted the toy of the trailer from The Lost World.
see. I didn't know what that was. No, I went through a dinosaur phase, but my mom
Everyone does.
bought me. Yeah, Justin's not out of his, but my mom bought me. My mom bought me a bunch of like not off-brand dinosaur stuff, but not Jurassic Park. And then I got into Godzilla and it was over. Like I was like, yo, this one breathes fire, and then it's just been Godzilla ever since.
This is what dinosaurs are like in Japan.
Yeah, right. This is so much cooler. There was a point in time where I thought Godzilla was real, and I was so disappointed to find out he wasn't, because I thought Godzilla was a dinosaur like all the others, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. He was a real thing. And then my mom was like, no, honey, that's not what it is. And I'm like, no.
He's real somewhere.
He's real in my heart. And that's all that matters.
There's an alternate universe where he exists.
Yeah.
He's real in my heart. Yeah, and in that alternate universe, the world suffers cataclysmic damage
Yeah.
multiple times.
Every couple of years.
There's a world where Crime Wave succeeded and Evil Dead 2 failed.
I mentioned that in my Letterboxd review because I said, like, there's an alternate universe where this succeeded and Sam Raimi's career catapulted off of this.
Today we're talking about Crime Wave 2,
Yeah, right? That's what it would be.
made in the wake of a failure of Evil Dead.
Yeah, wouldn't that be some shit? And but you know, we're in the bad timeline with the good thing that happens, which is Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, in that reality, we review action movies instead of horror movies.
Yeah, we review like action movies. We're gonna do something a little different today. This is like a black comedy kind of action movie. It's weird, fucking whatever. We're doing it. It's our podcast, not yours.
Take a break from playing Silent Hills, guys.
Oh no! Stop.
We're gonna talk about movies today.
Oh, and in that universe, Justin likes Resident Evil 7 and I don't. And it's like, I'm just like, it's just an Outlast clone. And then Justin's like, that's why it's so good. Like, it's just completely different. But anyway, back
You mentioned Outlast. I see the beta shit for the Outlast Trials. That shit looks fun.
they're making another one?
Yeah.
I don't
A
know.
It's like
multiplayer one.
Yeah, it's a multiplayer.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it another one that's like asymmetrical type deals?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that could be pretty cool. Maybe. I
It's
don't
like
know.
kind of an escape thing.
That Texas Chainsaw one's being made by the guys that did Friday the 13th, right?
That one and fucking Killer Clowns.
Really? That's the same development team too?
I think so.
Either the
That's
same
cool.
development team or at least the same publisher.
Well, we'll see. That Texas Chainsaw one looks pretty interesting. It's a shame that Friday the 13th one didn't go anywhere. Well, anyway, back to Evil Dead 2.
Oh, yeah.
That was a certified sidetrack segment that I forgot to announce. Welcome to Gore Goblins. We're unorganized as shit. So
Whoa.
anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, the Save Your Soul, whatever.
Yeah, Homeboy expositions for a little bit.
Yes.
Then we get what I'm assuming is a tribute to The Haunting, because there's a bit in that's very similar. She's like, "Oh, you're holding my hand too tight,"
Oh yeah.
and then the lights come up and there's no one there. Mm-hmm. But in this case, there is something
I'm not
there.
holding your hand, baby.
Yeah.
Baby, I'm not holding your hand. And then it's Ash's evil hand. And this prompts Bobby Joe to do something stupid and run out of the cabin. After Ash has warned everybody to not leave until daylight.
Women.
And she runs out and gets, branch banged.
She gets banged a different way. She gets slammed.
Yes.
Quite literally.
Well, they went in her
Into a tree.
mouth.
They
Yeah.
still assault her, just not as bad as they
And
assaulted
they
Cheryl.
stick themselves in her
Yeah.
cheek and shit.
It's funny because in the special features, they're like doing the makeup tests, and she's like, "Put it back in, boys, just the way it was before." And I'm just like, that is naughty. that is not kosher. But she gets slammed into a tree. Now, there was an additional draft. The initial draft of Evil Dead 2 had like a bunch of escaped prisoners, I think.
Something like that.
Being holed up at the cabin with Ash, and one of the prisoners was initially going to be split like a wishbone.
Yeah.
From being slammed, like it was gonna like separate his legs and just like split him in half, which would have been dope as shit. That would have been fucking cool. Did not happen.
They say that. And I think something like when she gets slammed, there was supposed to be like a blood geyser, like shoot above the trees.
Oh, that would have been neat.
Like an effect that was then used in Army of Darkness.
Oh,
like when the
okay.
blood sprays
When
out of the
with
pit.
the pit bitch. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that would have been neat.
But speaking of reverse acting, hers is pretty good in the
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah, because that when the branches are going in, that's them pulling them out, and then
Yeah.
they just reversed it. And I think Greg Nicotero said that they had her on a platform, and then they had like a treadmill type thing under her that was like doing like, make it look like she was being dragged. And I was like, man, that's fucking cool. Like the rigs they came up with are insane. Like you gotta like, fucking, it's crazy that they came up with this stuff.
It's like in the first Underworld, there's a part where I forget his name. The main werewolf dude, he's chasing down a car, and that's what they did. They had him on a little mat just running as they pulled it.
I mean, sometimes the simplest effects look very good, and I love it. But yeah, she gets slammed into a tree, a big ass tree.
Get a nice little parallel shot of glass breaking.
Yeah, when they open the pages, and then that's when what's her name foreshadows, right? When Annie foreshadows Army of Darkness by reading the pages.
Yeah, we see the little
Little
like
picture.
El
ima-
Jefe.
image of Ash
The
is
hero
like,
from the sky.
The hero from the sky.
and nobody
Watcher
catches
in
on,
the
I
sky.
guess.
Ghost. Woo.
Yeah, because it looks like. Listen, buddy. All right, that was really cool to sidetrack, but that was really cool to see live because they had. I was gonna say, you remember when we saw them last time, but you didn't go with me. I forgot, but there was they have like these spotlights.
Who? What are you talking about?
Ghost.
Oh.
When I saw Ghost, they had searchlights that were like on the ceiling and everything, and it was a neat little trick. I was half expecting them to blow out the roof of the stadium and just have a blimp come in. Like that shit was elaborate as fuck. It was awesome. But yeah, Watchers in the Sky, whatever, Ghost, they're good. Anyway, what were we talking? Oh yeah, it's the man from the sky who looks just like Ash. I don't know how the fuck.
And just nobody notices.
And that's another thing that's fucky because in Ash vs. Evil Dead, when they look at the Necronomicon, Ash is in there. So like, Army of Darkness happened. They just can't. It's stupid. Rights are stupid. Anything that revolves around business and filmmaking is fucking stupid. And El Jefe. That's when Pablo starts calling him all that shit. Great. Love Ash vs. Evil Dead. Fantastic. Anyway. Foreshadowing, nobody catches on. And then I think at this point...
Homeboy misses his girl.
Homeboy, yeah, he misses Bobby Joe.
He's like, you think she's all right?
No.
I have a good feeling.
No, not even. Like Ash knows what happened to his sister, and he tries to warn him, and he's just like, we're going. I got the gun. And then it's just like, all right, fucking, all right.
Throws the pages in the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a piece of shit ass hole. And
Rednecks.
and then they go out, and Ash becomes evil because the evil starts coming after them.
Yeah, we get him yelling Bobby Joe a couple times.
Bobby Joe! and then yeah, Ash pops up and he's evil. He eats a squirrel in a deleted scene, and he just picks up Jake and fucking tosses him into a tree, busts his head on that tree, doesn't kill him. And then Annie runs back into the house, and Ash is being, evil. And he's like, join us, and all that shit.
Yeah,
And Annie's like, no. And then she runs away.
Yeah, she kind of becomes the main character for a few minutes.
For a little bit, yeah. She grabs the Kandarian dagger. She starts hearing some stuff going bump in the night.
Yeah, sees the door handle start moving.
Uh-huh.
And then door opens, she stabs, and then of course it's Jake's dumb redneck ass.
Stabs him with a rubber dagger.
Yeah.
And that fucking flops. It boings like one of those fucking door stoppers whenever he lays down. And then yeah, she tries to close the door because Ash is coming, and she just keeps like fucking hitting Jake. And I'm like, bitch, just pull him. Like, what are you doing? Come on, fuck. Like, I get it, it's to build tension, but come on.
I think that's the only holdover from Within the Woods that was used in this one.
Yeah.
I think most of it was used in the first one.
Yeah, and they pull him in. She closes the door, and she takes him to buy the cellar, and like she tries to pull out the dagger, and it looks like it hurts.
Well, because it's not like a thin blade; it's like a spinal column.
Yeah,
or
it's a
something.
spinal column, and it's all jagged and shit. Fuck that, dude. I would have just been like, hey, could you like pick up a brick or a big log from the fucking fireplace and just like crush my head real quick?
Just grab the gun and go ahead and feed me one of them shells.
Yeah, please. This is gonna
good luck to you.
This is gonna suck. I hope I don't come back. But unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you ask, he gets dragged into the fruit cellar halfway by Henrietta, and then he just gets blood geysered.
Yeah, just
And what happened was Dan Hicks, right?
yeah.
He was set up, and the blood shot up and bounced off of the cellar roof, and then just like went straight into his fucking nose. And he's just like that, like, he can't say anything because he's being drowned. And he's like, I thought I was gonna die. He's like, I'm gonna be honest. He's like, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. So he's just getting blood geysered. He gets dragged in. Henrietta probably fucks his corpse. You know how it is. And swallows his soul. You know how it is.
I mean,
He took off all his skin and
Yeah.
shit and made him a skeleton.
yeah, just dissolve, leaves the clothes,
Yeah.
but takes the skin.
You know how it is. Women. Anyway, so we get all that.
They'll leave your clothes, but take your skin.
Yes, it's happened to me before. But yeah, he's dead. Ash breaks in, throws Annie onto the couch or whatever, and then he's about to go like kill her, I guess. And George, I swear to God, if you knock down my water bottle, I swear to God. Anyway,
Put the lid on it like a sane
why don't
person.
you put the lid on it, Justin?
My lid is on.
All right, listen. I don't want to hear that. Anyway, so,
Yeah, we get the fountain of slushy coming out of the cellar.
yeah. So Ash throws Annie.
Yeah, Ash shows up. Little bitch.
I'm telling you,
Get away from my. No, shoot. Get.
See, you're missing out, audience, because we don't have a visual element yet.
Yeah, give me the electric
Yet.
tennis racket.
Because cameras are too expensive.
Yeah, they are.
And so are good mics. But anyway, I digress. He throws Annie onto the couch. He starts walking up to her. George, I swear to fucking, George!
What does he want?
George, stop!
He's
Oh my
possessed.
God.
Get the axe.
Anyway, my cat. I love my cat, but he's being a boy. Let me tell you.
Evil George.
Keep talking.
Okay. So yeah, what happens is, Ash throws Annie. It's like the 5th time I've said it. Ash throws Annie, and then the necklace pops up somehow,
Falls into the perfect formation.
falls
of a
into
little
the skull just like it did in the original, and then Ash sees it and he's like, no, and there was initially going to be a shot that they cut out because I think Sam Raimi said that Bruce's performance was strong enough where he's like halfway through transforming and he's like got like boils on his face that are convulsing and pulsating. Would have been gross as shit, but also cool. Would have been like something out of a Cronenberg movie.
Was that ever shot?
Specifically Scanners. Yeah, it's in the behind the scenes.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that should be on the 4K I gave you.
Probably is.
On the Blu-ray anyway. But yeah, so we get all that. He's like, no, and then he fucking,
Yeah, fine. He regains his humanity.
yeah, somehow. One thing I love about Evil Dead is the rules are never clearly established, and I love it. I love it so much. But yeah, so then Ash is like, well, only way to stop it is with those pages. So I guess I'm gonna go down in the fruit cellar. But first, let's gear up.
Yeah.
So then
Montage.
So then we get another workshed scene where Ash and Annie go into the workshed, and they gear up. They jerry rig a fucking chainsaw hand.
Speaking of Edgar Wright, we get an instance of the montage that he uses very often
In
in his movies.
everything.
Yeah.
I think most prominently in Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
But in everything.
Quick cuts and gearing up.
I fucking love Hot Fuzz. But yeah, so they do that. He saws off his shotgun, and then we get he does a little twirl, puts it on his holster on his back. And then we get the most iconic line in the franchise where he just goes, "Groovy," and it's that's me jumping up in the theater, throwing my fist in the air.
Would you say that's like the Marvel equivalent of Avengers Assemble?
Yeah, that's like an Endgame when Cap's like Avengers Assemble and everybody was like, yeah. That's what I do whenever he says groovy. I turn into a monster and I make noises that I've never heard myself make before. But yeah, so he says groovy. They go into the cellar. Well, Ash goes into the cellar.
Yeah.
And he makes his way through, finds the papers, finds Jake's skeleton with the clothes on, women, and he takes the papers.
A couple of curious rats.
With the little curious rats. I love little rats; they're so cute. And then he walks back to the cellar entry, and he just tosses the papers up,
Yeah.
defying the laws of physics. And he's making his way back up the stairs, and then Henrietta's like,
Well, they
fuck
were
boy.
wet, so maybe they were heavier.
Maybe.
Maybe. Just slap against her face and stay there.
Gross. And then Henrietta comes and grabs him, and Ash is having the time of his life. And then Henrietta, I think.
Well, he gets pulled through the stairs, gets thrown through them, and then is unconscious for a little bit.
Yeah, as Henrietta makes her way up.
And starts fucking with Annie.
Yeah, and she like starts levitating. And so, fun fact: Ted Raimi went through hell as in Henrietta's makeup. There's footage of him getting his makeup taken off, and like they pull off the feet like they're socks, and just like sweat just fucking pours out. And there was another time where Henrietta was supposed to be levitating out of the cellar, but Ted fell off of it and split the suit in half. So when Henrietta's like
Yeah, during the spin shot.
during the spin shot, you could see
like
his
the crotch is just torn open.
you can see the crotch torn open. And then there's a bit where Ash comes out and he whistles, and Henrietta turns her head at him, and you see all this sweat pour out of his ear. And that reminds me, I think it was Scream. What was it? It was Scream 2 or 3, where the stunt actor that played Ghostface was talking about how he didn't know how much sweat collects in the bottom of the mask because it's like a reservoir. He's like, so we were on a set break. He's like, and I lay down on a bed and leaned back, and all my sweat just fucking came and hit me in the face. And I was like, that is disgusting. That is fucking vile. I hate that. That is awful. Oh, gross. But anyway, yeah. Poor Ted Raimi. It would take like 3+ hours to get the makeup applied, and then he was in that suit for like 8 hours, and then it would take however long to get him out.
Yeah, they mentioned in the commentary like he was probably the one person on that set more abused than Bruce.
Yeah, and then anyway, so then the Henrietta starts attacking Ash. She turns into a chimpanzee monster again, and
They have a little Jason and the Argonauts fight.
yeah, yeah, they do. And Ash cuts her up, decapitates her, and then her head is like, swallow your soul, swallow your soul.
Also Sam.
And then Ash is like, swallow this, and then he just fucking Duke Nukems her, and great, love it.
Roll credits, movie's over.
Well, and he starts reading from the book, or from the pages, and as she's reading from I think the tree started attacking the cabin first. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because she says she only read the first half, which is it gives the evil corporeal form.
Yes.
Like it's the evil made flesh.
Yeah.
So now it has a physical form through the trees.
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah. And the tree starts attacking the cabin, and she keeps reading it. She gets stabbed in the back by Ash's evil hand.
That little scamp.
But the rotten apple bitch peeks its head in, and Ash's hair turns white, or part of his hair streaks white.
Gets the Mr. Fantastic look.
Yes, suits him very well, I might add. And then he's like, don't look at it. Just fucking keep going. Just keep reading. And then she's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. So then she keeps reading it, and
then she gets stabbed.
And then she gets stabbed, and then she's able to finish it before she dies. And Ash, while this is all happening, Ash is taken by rotten apple bitch. Chainsaws it through the eye. Blue blood comes out.
AKM.
Yeah, I was gonna say, which confirms that the rotten apple bitch was a cop, and so the blood gets all over Ash. But then the wormhole or whatever opens up. Everything gets thrown into it, and Ash is like, "Oh, you did it, kid! You did it!" And then everything gets sucked in.
Of course, it's a Sam Raimi movie, so it's not going to have a happy ending.
Never going to have a happy... There's always, like, something that fucking derails it. So, what happens is Ash gets sent to the Middle Ages with the Oldsmobile.
And we get a weird 2001 sequence where he's, like, traveling through dimensions or something like that.
Yeah.
Time traveling.
And
We get like, that 10 seconds of silence as everything's falling.
And then just the car
crashes.
You know? And then Ash is like, oh man, fucking I'm dazed and confused. And then all the knights are like, slay the beast, for it is a deadite. And then a real deadite pops up.
Yeah.
And the full like model of this is pretty impressive. It had like this long ass tail, and it was really cool. And then Ash blows its head off. And it dies. And then Sam Raimi, who was alive in the Middle Ages. I don't know if you knew this, but Sam Raimi lifts up his knight's helmet and he's like, he's gonna kill Deadites, boys! And then, everybody's like, yeah! And they're like losing their fucking mind. I think Cale mentioned that Rob Tappert's hand comes up late.
Yeah, yeah, that's the last thing we see is like when those two fists come up and cover the screen. Sam points out like the one that comes up late is Rob.
And then, directed by Sam Raimi, Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
Leads directly, as Ash laments the fact that he's the protector of the world now.
So everyone's cheering for him, and then immediately they change their minds because Army of Darkness starts with him in stocks.
Yeah.
And being taken as a prisoner.
Yeah, and they don't like him.
But hey, continuity was never is optional in the Evil Dead series.
Yeah, it's like, it's like, it's how it is, baby. It's, continuity's never a thing. The evil's never fully explained. Even in Ash vs. Evil Dead, it's not like... Yeah. It's very inconsistent. And, I have a lot of, like, extra shit written down, like him choking, like Dan Hicks almost choking to death, and also that while in Wadesboro, the special effects team, all of them were at a laundromat in a rough part of town, and they were like, we're the only white people in here, and then the owner of the laundromat comes up to him, and this was in 1986, by the way, and the owner of the laundromat comes up to him, and he was like, and she was like, what are y'all doing in here? This is the black laundromat. You need to go to the white laundromat. And then he was like, oh, okay, well, if it's an issue, I guess we'll leave. So then they leave, and like that laundromat that they were at had no AC, no nothing. It was run down. It was shitty. They go to the white laundromat. It's got AC. It's got those little casino arcade things. It's got everything. And he was like, it was just kind of crazy because this is the 80s. This is 1986, and it's still segregated. And it's like, that's fucking insane. And I remember, I think Bryan Cranston in his autobiography, he was going through like Alabama or some shit in like the mid 2000s, and it was the same thing where it was just still segregated, which is again fucking crazy. This is the 80s. Segregation's not legal anymore. But yeah, that's rough. But that's Wadesboro. That's North Carolina, baby. What else could you say? And then yeah, there's the scene where they're filming the Ash cauterizing his stump. Also, the house they stayed in Wadesboro was built by the same guy that made that built the house in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then down the street was the barn from Friday the 13th Part 3.
Where you got hanged?
Yeah, I think so.
Sweet.
And all that stuff was just there, and they were like I think it was Robert Kurtzman saying that it was like they were in a horror movie, and I was like, that's pretty cool. And so again, Todd Raimi, fuck, I'm all over the place today. Ted Raimi, it took 3 hours plus to apply the makeup. He got a lot of dirt in his eyes apparently, and he also fainted in the suit at one point. And Sam Raimi was just like, you fucking baby, you'll be all right. And then, but despite all of it, Ted Raimi's like, it was great. Also, apparently, Rob Tapert would constantly break into the effects room. So, like that shot where what's her name, where Linda's head pops up. It's like the
hair is like tied up.
The hair is tied back because it wasn't supposed to be used for screen time. So to prevent Rob Tapert from breaking into the effects room, they booby-trapped the doorway with a water bucket. So Tapert got doused one time and never went in again after filming it wrapped. And let me see. And while they were in that house in Wadesboro, there was no AC. And it was so hot that Robert Kurtzman said he would dip his sheets in ice water and just lay them on top of himself to sleep because otherwise he wouldn't be able to sleep. That's fucking crazy. But yeah, everybody had great things to say about Sam Raimi, not surprising. Watching Ted Raimi get the life cast done and Ed, too, get his life cast done to do the makeup effects, very uncomfortable watching them get that done because the only way they can breathe is through the nose.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're having a bad allergy day, boy, howdy, is it going to suck for you. But yeah, so there was also, they didn't mention it, but I noticed in the dailies, or in the behind the scenes, so there's just a white cat that would just hang around the effects shop that would just like sleep under the Henrietta outfit or whatever. It was so cute. And then yeah, the cabin's still standing. But I think that's everything I got written down. But yeah, Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
Great movie, one of the best. One of my favorites of all time. It's a good mix of gore and comedy. Is there anything else you have to say about it, Cale?
What was the budget difference between this one and the first one?
The first Evil Dead was like 200,000, I think. No, 2 million? 2 million, I want to say.
Something like that.
And this one was, you know what? Let's find out. I'm a Google.
I think you said it was like 3 million or something like that.
The Evil Dead. Ooh.
I mean, regardless of budget, this one definitely had like more oversight.
Oh, 375,000.
Okay. Yeah,
for that first Evil Dead.
And this one had like 3 million.
Yes.
So yeah, this one had a lot more money to work with, but still retained its soul. And
it still had that B-movie charm. Yeah.
And wasn't stolen by the industry, wasn't fucked up by the studio.
Yeah, thank God. I'm very happy.
Yeah.
That it that it exists the way it does. 'Cause yeah, I mean, I talk about it all the time that you should just give directors what they want. Like, they're the ones that are gonna make you the money or not. So why get involved and ruin it? I mean, Alien 3 is a good example of a director having a vision and then the studio being like, well, hold on, you can't do that. We're gonna do all this other stupid shit and make the movie awful. And then obviously that happened with Crime Wave. But like if you let Sam Raimi cook, it's gonna come out pretty well. And Multiverse of Madness is great. The Spider-Man movies are great. Well, the first two are fantastic, and then 3 they wanted to make him put Venom in there, and Sam Raimi in retaliation made sure that it wasn't accurate.
Yeah, casted Eric Foreman.
Yeah, casted fucking Topher Grace. But yeah, if you let directors do what they want, I mean, sure, this movie might not have made a lot of money at the time. I mean, it still made a profit, but like, that's why I think that like money shouldn't really be involved when it comes to stuff like this. At least not to the extent that it is. But it's a business, and that's why we have a bunch of jump scare fests in the theaters.
It needs to make money because you need money to make it.
Yeah.
So these studios are like, hey, we're going to give you money to make it, but like, how can you promise that we're going to get that money back?
Yeah.
So I see the necessity of it, but it's still shitty.
Too much tampering is bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's why we have trends. Like that's why torture porn was a big thing after Saw was a success.
Yeah.
And that's why fucking there's jump scare fests everywhere because Blumhouse made a bunch of fucking jump scare movies. With Terrifier 2 making a bunch of money, my hope is that slashers really come back in force. I mean, Halloween's made a bunch of money too. David Gordon Green's Halloween trilogy.
Halloween X is getting a trilogy.
X made a lot of money. Pearl made a lot of money. Scream 5 made a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I mean, slashers are back. Chucky's doing really well on TV. So. But it just bums me out when a creator can't like do exactly what he wants. Now, I mean, I understand, like Cale said, taking concessions every now and then to like try to make the money back, but like when you completely fuck up a vision, it's bad.
Yeah.
And Evil Dead 2 is a shining example of what happens when you let a director do what he wants, and it pays off.
Unlike Justice League.
Yes. You know what? Buddy? Yeah. No, you're kind of right.
No, I watched a very in-depth review of that movie.
Of which one? The
Snyder
Whedon cut? Oh, the Snyder cut?
Trash.
You don't like it?
Trash.
You don't like it?
No.
It is 4 hours long. It's a long
just
movie.
so weirdly set up. And I get you want
That's
a
Zack Snyder.
dark, gritty movie, but to desaturate the colors of superheroes, it's like, really?
Yeah, I think to go off on that certified sidetrack segment, one thing that Zack Snyder does is he kind of, I think the best descriptor that I've seen for it is that he kind of views superheroes as godlike figures. So he tries to make them like, what's the word? Like almost like shine in a way that's not colorful. Like he tries to make them almost look statuesque, like a Greek god statue or something like that. And I mean, it works. And like for the tone he's going for, I think it's fine. But like, when you read a Superman comic, even like Dark Knight Returns has a lot of color in it. And that's a very gritty Batman story. Even the Killing Joke is a fucking brutally dark Batman story, and that has plenty of color in it.
I mean, fucking Watchmen.
Yeah, Watchmen's very colorful, but Zack Snyder just he understands comics and comic book stuff on a very surface level.
Yeah.
And that's fine because it's visually cool to see sometimes. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But like I'm not going to say they're good adaptations.
Like he has his own vision for it. Like you're either into it or you're not.
And I mean, I respect the interpretation, but like, I mean, I can understand why people wouldn't like it. But I mean,
he forgot that less is more sometimes.
Yeah, he does like slow-mo a lot.
He just threw every character possible he could in there.
He does do that.
And then I didn't realize until I watched that review that Darkseid wasn't in the original cut.
No, yeah.
So then throwing him in there makes it really stupid.
Yeah, because that was Snyder's original plan, and then Joss Whedon was like, hey, I'm going to do Steppenwolf instead because your daughter died. So, that's,
and then the original cut Steppenwolf was more accurate to the comic.
Yeah.
And then we got Transformers Steppenwolf.
Yeah, he looks like one of the fucking like when they used to sell graphics cards at Office Depot, and they would always be like these really shitty like CG OCs, and that's what Steppenwolf looks like.
He looks like the Destroyer from Thor.
Yeah, yeah, he does, doesn't he? Yeah, like here's another example is like Watchmen is a graphic novel about how you shouldn't idolize superheroes because they're human, except for Dr. Manhattan. and how you shouldn't idolize them because they're fallible and all this other shit. And then it was like a critique on how on just like how superheroes are viewed by the masses and like how people consume comic books and superhero media and everything. And Zack Snyder was like, cool, I'm going to make an action movie. And that's what he did. And I mean, I like Watchmen. I think it's a fine adaptation, and it's probably
Well, I was gonna
the
say
best visual adaptation.
I was gonna say I'm of the mind that it's like it's not a good adaptation, but it's a decent movie.
Yeah, like The Shining isn't a good adaptation of the book, but it's a very good movie.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to compare Watchmen to The Shining.
Watchmen is as good as The Shining. You heard it here first. Folks.
Yeah, Watchmen is on the same level as The Shining for me. No, I mean, but then you have stuff like, I mean, I don't know. There are some times where you can deviate from comic book accuracy and have it be fantastic. Like Logan's a good example of that. You know, but then there are times where like it lives and dies by how accurate it is, like Dredd, because Judge Dredd isn't comic accurate at all, and it's like a fun little 90s B action movie.
Yeah.
But Dredd 3D 2012 is amazing. I love that movie with all my heart.
It's Alex Garland.
It didn't make any fucking money, but I love that movie.
I mean, I know accuracy isn't the main thing because Marvel.
Yeah, Marvel, and then Marvel's going ham on inaccuracies right now. But they have the excuse of the multiverse at this point.
Yeah, they're their own canon at this point.
And then that's what I was gonna say. And they've also established themselves as their own canon.
Yeah.
As another multiverse, as opposed to being a 1-to-1 from the comics, which is probably the best way to do it. But yeah, Zack Snyder, you let him do what he wants, and it's cool if you're into it. It's not if you're not. I don't know. Let Paul W.S. Anderson do what he wants too. That's why we got 7 Resident Evils and a fucking Monster Hunter movie. And
apparently,
Death Race, I think.
Yeah.
He did that Death Race. We did AVP.
He did that.
I forgot he did AVP.
He did Mortal Kombat. He did Event Horizon. So he had his moment in the 90s where he was making not shit for a little bit.
Yeah, and then AVP came out, and everybody was like, maybe this guy, maybe he's not as good as we thought. And then it all went downhill.
well, apparently they're making a live-action Gears of War movie.
Yeah, I saw that.
Who is Paul W.S. Anderson?
No, Netflix.
Netflix.
Oh,
Yeah, Netflix. They're doing an animated series.
that's not much better.
And then, yeah, right after Texas Chainsaw. And then they're doing an animated series, and they're doing that live-action movie. And again, it's going to live and die on who plays Marcus.
Well, to be fair, Castlevania was really good.
Yeah,
so-
but if it's that same studio, maybe.
Yeah.
But
that was also probably Warren Ellis, just being a
But
good writer.
it also depends what story they're gonna go with. If they're gonna make their own or try to adapt the game. I mean,
I think it's better if they just make their own.
that'd be the best bet.
That's how I view comic book adaptations.
If they try to do the game, everyone's gonna rip it apart.
Yeah,
Especially me.
it's not gonna work.
It's also the Metal Gear movie that's been in development hell for.
Hey, Oscar Isaac's gonna be in it, maybe.
Yeah.
That's a good pick for Solid Snake, but
That's
like,
something.
Not according to Josh.
well, that's because Josh is silly. All right, Josh thinks Devin Townsend is a good musician. Anyway, we love you, Josh.
He thought a Meshuggah concert was the greatest thing ever.
Listen to better music, please. But anyways, no, Oscar Isaac's a great pick. I think we talked about that with him, or I talked about that with him one time, and he was like, "Oh, I don't like it," and I'm like, "Dude, it's gonna be fine. Like, Oscar Isaac's a great actor. He'll be fine." I'm like, all it's gonna be is just him going Metal Gear over and over again. That's it.
He's just basing it off of Star Wars.
It's because he's Hispanic.
Yeah, because he's Hispanic. That's why. But yeah, if he's basing it off of Star Wars, that's not fair because, especially in Rise of Skywalker, he's phoning that shit in hard, like hard. You can tell somehow Palpatine has returned. Like he does not give a shit.
That was him reading it for the first time.
Probably, but yeah. So barring Zack Snyder, letting a director do what he wants. I guess Uwe Boll's another good example of letting a director do what he wants.
But basically, rarely
results.
studio intervention leads to better results.
Yes.
Sometimes it does.
That's the
like
idea.
I think the revised ending for Get Out is a lot more satisfying than the original.
Well, it's not as depressing. Yeah.
Not as depressing. It's also
Was
not.
that a studio thing?
I think it either a studio thing or like it didn't test well, so they went back and
I think
changed
it was
it.
the testing thing. Yeah, that
So-
original ending was depressing.
So stuff like that. But yeah, most of the time it leads to things being shit.
Yeah, like Crime Wave.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, was never going to make a bunch of money, I don't think. But, because Coen Brothers are an acquired taste. And if you mix that shit with Sam Raimi, it's even more of an acquired taste. So yeah, but yeah, I'm glad Evil Dead 2 exists,
Yeah.
and it gets a hearty recommendation from us. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like without a doubt, a hearty recommendation.
We assume you're watching these before you listen to these. At least I am. Because
But I still recommend it regardless.
yeah.
I mean, you can spoil something and still recommend it. But it might not hit the same. But yeah. For the record, I'm assuming too.
Like No Way Home.
Yeah, yeah. I knew everything about No Way Home before that came out, and I still liked it. Same thing with Infinity War. Wow, a lot of Marvel stuff I spoil for myself. But with that being said, any final words on Evil Dead 2 before we spin the wheel to find out what we're doing next?
Great movie.
Is good.
Great effects.
that-
Great
that's-
acting.
Great everything. Okay.
Papa John's.
Stop. Fuck it.
Pizza Papa can't be beat.
Yeah. Fucking pizza Papa.
We're not gonna ask yous again, Papa John. Say the N word.
Also, everyone go watch Chainsaw Man because it's great.
Oh yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah,
need
I like
to.
it.
I bought Crunchyroll and I haven't watched
It's on
it yet.
Hulu.
You know
Yeah.
what? You're on Hulu. Anyway, so we're ready to spin the wheel. So let's see what we get next.
Come
That-
on, something
Boy,
like that.
it's spinning.
Join us.
47. What's 47?
47.
47.
Fuck yeah, any Giallo movie. We're
Oh,
doing fucking Tenebrae, baby. Woo! Justin, I'm just going to tell you right now. It's going to be really fucking weird, but you have to stick with it because I love this fucking movie so much. Tenebrae is, like, unironically one of my favorite horror movies right now. It's so good. I love Giallo. Woo! I'm
Is that
excited.
the only Giallo movie you've seen?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess if you want to count Last Night in Soho, but that's just more heavily influenced.
Yeah, influence.
But yeah, Tenebrae, I love Tenebrae, and it made me buy other Giallo movies. I think I bought Deep Red and Cat o' Nine Tails, both Dario Argento. But yeah, it's gonna be weird, Justin, because Italian movies, for some fucking reason, in the 70s and 80s, and I think even in the 90s, despite filming in English, they ADR everything. So everything is overdubbed by the original actors, and it doesn't work tonally, but like it adds this weird fucking charm to it that I can't help but love. Like you'll have a character that'll like clearly be in distress, and it'll just be like, "Fuck you, asshole." Like that's literally like clearly like they're acting like "fuck you," and it's just "fuck you." Like that's what it is.
So like watching a Godzilla movie.
Yes, but the lip movements match, and that makes it weirder for some reason.
It's Workshed, but the entire movie.
Yes, exactly. It's workshop at the entire movie.
Oh, okay.
And so yeah, Tenebrae is what we're doing next week, because that's the one that I've seen more recently. So I can just dive into the fucking special features and the audio commentaries and all that shit. And yeah, it's going to be another Aerial video release to echo Justin from a few episodes ago. Sponsor us anyway. So that's very excited to do Tenebrae. Very excited to show Justin Tenebrae because it's going to be fucking weird. It's going to be great to see his reactions. Basically, I guess I should have mentioned this first. Giallo is basically a slasher.
It's like a mystery.
It's like a whodunit slasher, and it's very bloody. I don't want to say gory, but it's very bloody.
They can be.
They definitely can be, and there are parts of Tenebrae that are, but Tenebrae is mostly just very bloody, but it's also like weirdly beautiful. I'm excited to talk about it. I
Yeah,
love Tenebrae.
very stylized and
Yes.
very much in the aesthetic.
Oh, I can't wait.
Is that one scored by Goblin?
Yes.
Sweet.
Yeah. Tenebrae scored by Goblin. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think Cale's going to be joining us for that one, but
No, I need to watch that one in my own time.
Tenebrae's fantastic. Cale is going to go back into hiding in the Middle East, which is where he was dead with the voodoo doctor.
Yeah.
As the culture goblin does.
Yes, he's going to go back into hiding. You're never going to see him again until we do Army of Darkness in a couple episodes. I'm not going to say weeks anymore because I don't know what the fuck happens. But yeah, we're going to do Army of Darkness. And then, and then we're going to do another wheel pick, and then we're going to do the remake. And then Cale will disappear into the ether until we do, I don't know, Phantasm or Puppet Master or some shit. Or any one-off that he wants to join us on. I don't know. As time goes on, we might do a poll on the Facebook page about what franchise to do next. We'll like make a short list and just, I guess, like 3 or 4 maybe. And then all you followers out there, all 2 of you, can vote on what you want. And, and then we'll go over that franchise and just keep doing the formula that we've been doing. But anyway, thanks for listening to this episode of Evil Dead 2. Everybody say thank you to Cale. I'm listening. I'll know if you say it. All right? You better say thank you.
Me too.
Anyway.
I'll check.
So,
Sorry it was late again.
Yeah, sorry it was late. I was in San Antonio. I don't remember what happened the first weekend. What did happen? Oh, yeah, I think it was just...
You just said shit didn't go your way.
Yeah, shit didn't go my way. And I wasn't able to make time to... Because Evil Dead 2 had a lot of special features. Army of Darkness is going to have a lot of special features, too, that I'm going to have to dig through. A lot of archival shit. A lot of fun stuff to look at. And the reason I look at all of that is because I like having stuff to talk about and, beefs these episodes up so they're not just 30 minutes long.
Instead they're 2 hours.
Instead they're 2 hours.
Yeah.
Which I guess is good if we take 2-week breaks unannounced. But yeah, so
I announced them on Facebook.
but yeah, Justin does. Tenebrae shouldn't take. I should be able to get that done. But yeah, so Tenebrae will be our next episode. Thanks again for listening. Subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe on whatever the fuck you listen to this on. Follow our Facebook page.
Yes.
Follow me on Twitter, that shithole ship that is sinking as we speak. I am one of the few people still on there just playing the violin as the Titanic sinks, but not into the ocean, into a pit of lava. And
is it really that bad?
Okay.
Because I was looking at a post the other day on Facebook. It was like, celebrities who left Twitter after Elon Musk took over. And I was like, you overdramatic
Well,
babies.
I don't even care about that. It's just that...
Get over it.
It's just that he is like... on like a speed run to crash and burn that website, a la MySpace and Tumblr. Tumblr got rid of porn and that crashed and burned. Facebook came out and took that over. Elon Musk is just being a big old fucking baby that doesn't... So first he's like, free speech, comedy's legal. Even if you make fun of me, I'm not going to ban you because it's your right. People started making fun of him. Oh, from now on, if you're impersonating anybody on Twitter, we're going to give you a permanent suspension. Oh, I thought free speech, Elon. I thought you weren't going to suspend anybody anymore. But now he's just like... And then now you have to pay to get verified, which... takes away from the verification process which exists, so that way people can't imitate other people. But now he's trying to give the power to the people or whatever the fuck, and he's like, $8 a pop. Anybody can be verified now, which means anybody can verify themselves and then pretend to be a reputable person or a reputable journalist or whatever the fuck, actor, whatever, and just pretend to be that person for $8 a month, and it's gonna be a shithole, and that ship is gonna sink so fast. And it's like that picture of Matthew McConaughey looking at his phone and taking a really really anxious drag off of his cigarette. That's what it's like every time I scroll on Twitter now, because I'm like, this shit is amazing. This is incredible. He is gonna crash and burn this fucking website that already was hemorrhaging money. It's just gonna hemorrhage money even more, and it's gonna be amazing when it burns down, and I have to go somewhere else.
All because Grimes broke up with him.
All because Grimes broke up with him, and because Grimes broke up with him, and because a lot of people made fun of him, so he bought it, and now he's trying to get rid of people that make fun of him. For $44 billion too. That is so much money. That is an ungodly... Twitter is not worth $44 billion. Twitter is worth like 20.
Maybe it was, but all the sponsors pulled out.
No, not even. No, it was like literally worth 20. Like like when he initially gave him the offer, they were like, it's worth 20, right? And he was like, I don't care. I'll give you 44. And then they were like, okay.
Pocket change to me.
And then they were like, okay. And then he was like, actually, I'm going to back out because there's a theory that he said he was going to buy Twitter, so that way his Tesla stocks would go up, but instead they plummeted. So then, especially after Twitter was like, hey, no, this is binding. You put in the offer, you have to go through with it because you have the assets for it. You have to buy it now. So then he went ahead and went through with it. Everybody started saying the N-word and not getting banned. All the advertisers pulled out, and now it's hemorrhaging money. He's doing the $8 a month. It is just a tragedy. It's a comedic tragedy to just watch this ship that was already bad. It's like if the Titanic was already rusted and shitty and falling apart, and then it just hits an iceberg, and now it's just slowly going down even more. That's what's happening. There was already a leak, but now there's an even bigger leak, and it's incredible. I'm so happy. Anyway, follow me on there before it implodes, everybody. At Mustachio Cage. That's MOUSTACHIO Cage. And you know, follow me on there. It's fun. I have a stupid pinhead picture as my profile picture. It's great. But anyway, I mean, Facebook's not any better, but we're on there too. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, all that shit. Corporate overlords, wherever you look. Follow us wherever. And you know, thanks again for listening. Justin's here. Cale's here.
Yeah.
And
Yay.
you know, we had a fun time looking at Evil Dead 2, and looking forward to next time. But anyway, that's all we got for today, I think, unless anybody has anything else they want to say.
See you guys next year.
Yeah. Shit, maybe. I don't fucking know. But life's just going to keep getting worse for me.
Meow.
Did you say meow?
Yep.
It's called going out on a high note.
Hey, George. Remember what we talked about?
I said that to make somebody mad that I assume will listen to this episode
Awesome.
because I do that at work and it makes them mad.
That's classic you. Let's be real.
That's an investment.
Yeah, it is. Anyway, so that's it. Say bye, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.